Okay, hello everybody. My name is Syed Ali, and my partner's name is Manish Arora, and we have developed a Java application which plays the Mancala game. So if you're unfamiliar, Mancala is a game that involves moving marbles across the board in a counterclockwise fashion and trying to collect as many marbles in your Mancala, as it's called, as possible. So let's demonstrate this in the Java program. So the Java program starts with welcome message and then select an option, local play, how to play, and quit. If I select how to play, it provides instructions on how to play. For the sake of the video, I will just start a local gameplay and explain how it works as we go. So I will select a local play. What is the name of the first player? I'll give my own name. And for the second player, I'll just type in my last name. So this is the board. So if you remember this picture, this board looks similar to that. We have different pockets with numbers representing how many marbles are in there. And this pocket at the end here represents my Mancala, so my goal. And then this pocket here represents my opponent's Mancala or their goal. Now the program chooses a random player to go first. So it chose Ali, which is the second player here. So it asks them to choose a pit between H and M. So between H and M, choose a pit to move marbles from. So let's say I chose H. So what will happen is I will pick up the 4 marbles here, and I'll end up moving a marble one at a time into the neighboring pocket in a counterclockwise fashion. So I'll select H. And we can see now there are no marbles at H because I picked all of them up and I moved it to I, J, K, and L. So now all of these have 5 marbles in them. Similarly, now it's my turn on the bottom here. Now I can choose one from A to F. So I will choose C. Now we can see that there was 4 marbles here, and I moved 1, 2, 3, 4 marbles, and I landed in my pocket here, which made my score 1. So whatever's in your pocket is your score. Whatever's in the opponent's pocket is their opponent's score. Now we can see that it's actually my turn again, because if you end your turn at your Mancala, you actually get an extra turn. So I will decide that I want to move F, for instance. So I'll move F. The marbles went around, and now it's my opponent's turn. So Ali, my opponent, let's just select something like K. Okay, now it's my turn. I'll select D. And then for Ali, I'll select J. My turn. I'll select, let me select A. So the move I just did landed in my pocket, so I get 1 extra turn. So I'll select, I'll do C. Okay, now it's Ali's turn, so choose a pocket from H to M. I'm going to select H. And now what happened here, it was probably hard to notice, but H has 2 marbles and J has 0. So he moves 1, 2, and he lands at a pocket which is empty on his side. When you do that, you can actually take all the marbles from the opposite side and then add them to your goal, to your Mancala. So he moves 1 marble here, 1 marble here. It was empty before. Now he takes this 1 marble plus the 2 marbles from the other side. That's 3 marbles total, and he adds them over here. So it's 5. So if you scroll down, you can see that there's 5 here there's 0 here, and there's 0 here. And the game goes on. I will stop the recording and play a little bit by myself, and then start recording again when the game is almost at a finishing point. Okay, so I played ahead, and now we're at a point where we can see a lot of our pockets are empty. The score right now is 14-17, and I have only one thing I can select is C, where it has 7 marbles. So I will select C. Now, now it's the opponent's turn. So we'll select A. And then it's my turn again. I'll choose yep. Then I'll choose E. And then my opponent's turn, I'll choose I. My turn, I'll choose, okay. So at this turn, we should almost be at the end. So I can choose A. What that will do is that will capture this opponent's marbles. So I'll select A. Now it's my opponent's turn. Let's do K. So the K will move 1 marble here. So what that will do is then when it's my turn next, I won't have anything to play. So that will finish the game. So if I do K, side is empty, the game is over, Ali won. So we can see from here, we selected K, that one moved here, his K moved to L, and then all my side was empty, so there wasn't anything to do. So what happens is the marbles here, the 7 marbles and the 1 marble will all move to his pocket. So that became 28 and 20. So the score is 20-28. So that's representing the Ali one. And then now I have the option to play again, or once again check the instructions, or I can quit. So let's go through the code and see how this works. So we have 2 main files and then the main method. So we have the player. The player is represented by a string, which is the name, and the integer, which represents either player 1 or player 2. We will define what is their start. So like for player 1, the start is 0. The end is the 5th element here, and then their Mancala is the 6th element here. And then for player 2, this is the 7th element, this their start. The end is 12, and their Mancala is 13. And then we have getters and setters, which are pretty self-explanatory. Then the main meat of the program is in the board. This is where everything is going on. So at the top, we have this int array called board. This represents the amount of marbles that are on the board. So this is the initial status. There's 6 set of 4, which are these ones. And then we have our pocket, which in the beginning is 0. And then there's another set of 4, and then 0. And then we have labels that represent from A to N. Going on, we have some private methods that build the board. We have the solid line, which prints a line like this. And we have a dotted line, which prints lines like this. And then we have a private print top player, which prints all the information seen here. It does a loop and it gets all the labels and the amount of marbles which are in the pockets. Similarly, print bottom player does the same thing for the bottom player. And then we have the public method print board, which will print this entire board. It will call all those private methods to do all the things it needs to do to print out the board. Then we have find index, private method, which is used later on, which basically takes in any character and then is able to return the number that of marbles which are present there. So if I put in C in here, I would be able to return 0. Or if I did G, it would return 20. Then is game over? Essentially checks to see if any particular side is completely empty, if there's no more applicable moves, then it returns true, saying that the game is over, move all the marbles. So this is what happened just a few moves just right now. The game is over, there's nothing I can move all the other players' marbles into their side, and then finish the game. Get score, it prints this out every turn. What is the score? Get winner at the end, over here, LE1. So we just calculate like G and N, whichever one is more, we'll say that that player won. And then this is the big meaty equation. Player move, not equation, sorry, method. Player move. It starts out, we print out the board, and then we check to see if there are any applicable moves. Is game over? And if that's the case, we print out that the side is empty, the game is over. And then otherwise, we say hello, player, choose a pit between, your first pit and your last pit. And then we have a try catch in case we input something which is not allowed. Otherwise, when that happens, we'll select like, hey, select a pit from your side, not the other player's side. So earlier, if the game was over, we would set this index variable as -1, and if it's -1, we'll return 0 in this equation, which will tell our main method that the game needs to finish. Otherwise, we take the index where we're at, and we use our board array, which is the array of all the numbers, and we set that as stones. That's the amount of stones we have in our hand. Then we set that index to 0. So as we start moving stones around, that place where we picked up stones from will be 0. Then we'll while loop around the board, and we'll keep increasing our index. And then at that index, we will increase the amount of marbles there by 1. So if I move something from here, I will move it to the next place, and I'll increment the number by 1. At the same time, if our index is 14, which is beyond the board, then we need to set it back to 0, so it comes back over here. Similarly, we deposit stones into our own Mancala. We don't deposit into our opponent's Mancala. We will just come back here. Or if this player is moving, they will not deposit here. So this line does the logic for that if we're at the Mancala of our opponents, we just increment onwards, and we don't actually change the board array, which represents our marbles. So the return value here, we can see is like 1, 2, 2, 1. So this essentially returns whose turn is it next. So if the first player is currently playing and they land on their Mancala, then return the 1 again, because the first player will play again. Then otherwise for player 2, similar thing. And then if it's player 1, we need to see if they are eligible for a capture. So did they land on the index which was empty? And if that's the case, then steal the opponent's marbles, and then add it all to their Mancala. Add all of those into the Mancala, and then set those 2 pockets as 0. And then return the opposite number. So this is player 1, so return 2. So it's another player's turn. And then same thing goes for player 2, return 1 for player 1. And then lastly, we have the main method. We have the select what you want to do, and we have a while loop to facilitate this loop. And then we have what's the name of the first player, what's the name of the second player. We make an array of players, objects. And then we have a random to determine who goes first. Then we have this loop here, which facilitates the game. And if we discover that this board player move, if it returns 0, so if we go to the board, if it returns 0, as it would in this instance, it's game over, return 0. Then we would make the loop false, and we would print out the winner using the get winner function. and the game just goes on until it's done. So that's how the Mancala game works. Thank you for watching.